Really excited for our guys today. I think one thing that I've told the scouts throughout all this, these three guys are an embodiment of what this team achieved last year. Through the months of July, August, September, Bryce Gallagher, Ben Bryant, Cam Johnson were team first guys. They were a huge piece of the glue that held this team together, and they performed on the field. And to see them have an opportunity to pursue their lifelong dream today is something that all of us are really excited to be a part of. Bryce Gallagher, two-time team captain, the ultimate communicator, makes everyone around him better. When Bryce Gallagher is on the field, the 10 other guys that are out there with him are better because of it. And, any NFL organization that makes a decision to bring Bryce in is going to be thrilled to have him in their locker room. Ben Bryant, best way that I can describe Ben, I've described him this way before. He's a warrior. Came in as a transfer, difficult situation to navigate, came in with humility and a ton of intent of learning a playbook and getting adjusted to this environment and this team, and did a phenomenal job. What we saw in his progression throughout the early portions of the season, dealt with an injury, after Penn State. I think a lot of guys in his situation maybe would have found a way to, say, you know what, I'm going to start focusing on my NFL opportunities. And he made a decision to do everything in his power to get back on the field, came back against Wisconsin with a stellar performance, and was a pivotal piece in us making the run that we did in the second half of the season. True team guy, someone that's so easy to rally around, has all the arm talent in the world, very accurate, excited for his opportunities moving forward. And Cam Johnson, you know, his second half of the season, again, I think reflects just his practice habits. What he was able to do on the back end of the season is a culmination of a young man, has been through it, played a lot of college football, a lot of nicks, bruises, dings, and just every day showed up Monday for walkthrough, Tuesday in full pads, Wednesdays in shells, and just was the ultimate practice player that led to him being the ultimate Saturday player as the season continued to go along. So excited for these guys, so excited for their families, and transition into our team in the 2024 season. Very excited to have a full staff put together. Had our first spring practice yesterday. We have a lot of work to do. Every team is a new team. We in here we can talk about last season. Well, in these team meetings, these position meetings, spring ball, we're not talking about last season. This is a brand new group, a group that's going to have to find its own way. And excited about the men that we have on the staff. Really excited about the group of guys that we have on this team. But there's a lot of work to do, a lot of depth things that we need to figure out. Some of that's going to come with guys getting healthy. Some of that will come through recruiting. But most importantly, that's going to come through development through spring ball, finding ways to develop our entire roster, whether it be a fifth-year senior that has started over 30 games in his career, or a young man that's a walk-on freshman, finding ways for guys to continue to develop and find their role, find their niche on this football team.
This is your first pro day as a head coach. What has it been like for you to kind of be the liaison to NFL teams on behalf of your players?
It's an honor and a privilege to just speak the truth about these guys. Anytime I get an opportunity to interact with NFL personnel in a practice setting when they're on campus, it's really easy to tell the truth. And the guys here at Northwestern do such a good job of giving me so many incredible stories to tell about the way they interact, their character, their work ethic, and the way that they've developed throughout this program. And also I have to give a huge shout out to our support staff. Sam Mulford really heads up our NFL liaison role, has done an incredible job of being a conduit of communication between our program and NFL organizations. And there's no way we could navigate this without Sam and the rest of our support staff.
For Cam and Ben transferring in, putting together the teams that they did, navigating everything that they did, how much better does that set them up to appeal to an NFL staff?
I think what it shows is their ability to adjust to new teammates, adjust to a new environment, dealing with adversity. And the thing that I can speak to both of those guys is those are guys that, the more that they were around the facility, the more they were around this program, the more that our guys just drew towards them. And, you would never look at either of those guys and say, you know what, he just doesn't fit in, or hey, that guy must have. I mean, you would have thought Ben Bryant and Cam Johnson were here for a full 5 years.
Coach, as you manage your first offseason following a bowl game, what would you say you've learned about yourself and how to structure things?
I've learned that, a great piece of advice that I received a couple of years ago from someone that I really trust. They said, Dave, you better, learn how to control your schedule, not have your schedule control you. And I'm learning that more days than not, my schedule is controlling me right now. So I got a lot of work to do in that area. You think you have this perception that, out of season, things are going to slow down, and it's just different. And really excited about the group that we're putting together. We have an incredible support staff around the program that is a huge aid to me in everything that we're doing. Really excited about what we're building, but I'm learning daily, and it's a great opportunity for us to build something really special. It's a rapidly changing landscape, so well, we've always done it this way. Well, that's great, and it's great to evaluate that, but the landscape is so different. We have to evaluate everything that we're doing, from scouting to recruiting, to the way that we're developing our student athletes, and it's a really exciting challenge.
You touched on this earlier, but what do you want teams to know about Brian in terms of what he can do at the next level?
High football IQ, great arm talent, poised. Whether it's a game-winning touchdown or an interception late in the game, I mean, just the poise and consistency that he shows. And then lastly, I mean, he loves the game of football, and coming back to just that warrior mentality. He's going to find a way to battle for his teammates. And, I think that's so critical. That's something that I learned in my time at North Dakota State with the quarterbacks that came through that program. All had very different skill sets, but the one thing that was consistent in that group was the team wanted to rally around that one individual. They wanted to play at a different level because of the leadership that that person possessed. And I thought Ben did a phenomenal job of that last year.
Coach, as you head into your second year, how did guys like Cam, Ben, and Bryce set the standard for you guys to really build upon?
I think it's, I'll speak to Bryce first, someone that's, Northwestern through and through, and, has, really shown what sticking to the process and trusting that process and being in a program all the way through, what development really looks like. And that if you trust that, at the end of that, there can be an incredible experience, not only with your growth and development as a man, but also as a football player. And then I think Cam and Ben, what they really show is, a certain level of humility and work ethic that mesh so well. Their humility stepping into this building, there was no complacency, there was no entitlement, there was no I'm transferring here to be the starter. They knew they had to step into the building, they had to earn their opportunities. And I don't think there's any better standard to set than what I just explained with those three guys.
With these three guys at the pro day, is that confirmation that a couple guys like Bryce Kirk or Coco Osmo are back for next season?
We anticipate those two being back. Absolutely. Absolutely.
First, I think it's like the talent these guys, but there's no high first round picks up here.
Yeah.
Without that kind of superstar talent on the roster, what does it say about what you guys were able to accomplish as a team this last year?
I think it really speaks to the fact that football, the most beautiful thing about this game is it's the ultimate team game. And we certainly plan to continue to be a program that scouts, recruits, and develops in a way that we have guys coming through the program that are those first and second round draft picks. But at the end of the day, one first round draft pick doesn't make a team. And especially in this changing landscape, we're going to have to develop people. We're going to have to out team people, and that's something that we thoroughly embrace. And these guys embody that in such a great way. What I can tell you is my number one responsibility is making sure that our team's ready to go, whatever that venue is, that we make our Northwestern community really proud, our alumni base, our students, and put our best foot forward in it, whatever venue that looks like. I'm excited about that challenge. I think the other thing that is exciting about this opportunity, but also certainly a challenge, is we have this incredible opportunity 2 years from now to move into new Ryan Field, and that's something that we're all very excited about. But we have to do an incredible job of bridging that gap and building momentum towards that. And the things that we have to prioritize, regardless of the venue, is making sure that we're doing a great job of involving, our students, our campus community, our season ticket holders. we have to build that momentum and do a great job of bridging that gap, because 2 years from now, we need to ensure that that fan base is still, ready to roll on Saturdays, excited about what's going on with Northwestern football. And it's a difficult task. I don't envy anyone that's involved in this project of figuring out where we're going to be. But what I can say is, regardless of where that venue's at, I have to do a great job of making sure our team's ready, and we need to make sure we do a great job as a university of including everyone in that, making sure that it's a great game day experience, it's a great experience for our students and everyone that's involved.
There was a report yesterday that you guys could build something temporary on campus. Does that appeal to you?
I think that'd be awesome.
Like a golf.
At the end of the day, I think that the boxes that need to be checked are: is it involving our campus community? Is it involving our students? Is it involving, our longtime season ticket holders? Is it creating a momentum and an environment that people are excited to be a part of as we move towards this new Ryan Field? And yeah, that would be incredible.
Coach, you guys this offseason lost a number of transfers, particularly in the secondary. What positions do you anticipate addressing through the portal, and how active do you plan to be?
The offensive line, we need to be active simply from a depth perspective. And again, in any challenge, there's opportunity provided. The young men that are practicing spring ball right now have an opportunity for a lot of reps under new tutelage and a new O-line coach with Coach O'Boyle, an opportunity to create a mentality that, hey, whatever five's out here, we're ready to go and work together as a unit. But we're going to have to address some things from a depth perspective with the O-line. In terms of the defensive backfield, I'm really excited about where our depth is at right now. Losing Rod Hurd, at that nickel position, that's a position that's certainly up for grabs here in spring ball. And a lot of times that's not actually a position you recruit to. That position comes out of the corner room or the safety room. So that's something we'll have to evaluate as we go through spring. But certainly the priorities are the depth at the O-line, the competition opportunity at the quarterback position, and really that competition and fit at the nickel spot.
Can you walk us through hiring Coach Lujan? What excited you when you decided to bring him on board to be offensive coordinator?
To be very honest with you, there wasn't much that excited about it at first, because the fact he's coming from South Dakota State. I had to get over that with Coach Smith a little bit, and we all know what Coach Smith has done with that defensive line group. Really looked at it through a lens of number one, making sure that we bring in a great person that is a developer of young men. Secondly, someone that is a proven developer of quarterbacks, coaching that position. And then lastly, someone that has proven that they have the ability to identify the strengths of a team, the strengths of the people within that group, and structuring concepts and scheme to build into those strengths. And as I continued to have conversations with Coach Lujan, it just became more and more apparent that he checked all those boxes. Thrilled to have him here. I still give him a hard time when, clips against NDSU and moving the ball on the Bison still show up, and he chuckles every time they do. But to be honest with you, he probably had a taller hurdle to get over, and he knocked it out of the park. I've been so impressed with him throughout this entire process.
Another new hire you made is Harlan Barnett as assistant head coach. What is his role in that AHC role kind of going to shape up to be?
He and I got to continue to work through that, but what I can tell you is he's going to be really active. What he navigated at Michigan State last year, I think, again, speaks to his character and the way that he just said, you know what, I'm gonna serve these guys, I'm gonna serve this program. He has experience in that seat. He aspires to have an opportunity to be a head coach again, so he's always looking at things through that lens. And someone that I got to do a great job of really leaning on with his expertise, his knowledge, his understanding of the Big Ten, his understanding of developing young men. And, again, I didn't know Coach Barnett. There's so many of these guys I had some form of interaction with prior. Before Coach Barnett stepped on campus for an interview, he and I had never had any in-person communication or interaction, and he just continued to blow us away with his character, his humility, his knowledge. He is going to be an incredible asset for me in that assistant head coach role.
David, you might have already been asked this, so apologies if you were, but the NIL landscape is continuing to change. 2 weeks ago, there was a new ruling that they're not going to be NCAA can't enforce the rules. So, do you feel like Northwestern is competitive in this space with NIL and how it's ever evolving?
That's a great question. It is constantly evolving. It's constantly fluid. I know we're not, and I don't anticipate that we ever will be so-called competitive in the NIL market, nor do I want us to be. Like that's not what we lead with. What we lead with is a student-athlete experience, an opportunity to get a world-class education, play within and develop within a developmental program that wants to fully develop you, and that's where we have to win. Do we have to navigate NIL? Do we have to play in that sandbox? We do. It's college athletics right now, but that's not what we lead with. We need to use it as a tool to retain our student athletes and ensure that they leave Northwestern with their degree and they play their best college football at Northwestern. And that's what's getting lost in this entire conversation, is how powerful football can be as a vehicle towards education. And we're not talking about that right now. Well, at Northwestern, that's all we're going to talk about, is how we can use this as an opportunity, as a vehicle to get a life-changing degree at Northwestern.
Do you have to ask different questions in recruiting?
Oh, absolutely.
How challenging is that to make sure you're getting the right athlete for your program?
At times it can be helpful if you ask the right questions early on, because it just very quickly identifies whether that young man is going to be a right fit for our program. If their first question is about NIL, or hey coach, get in touch with my agent, like, okay, it will. There are young men out there that value the things that we value here, and it's not about playing the short game. It's about playing the long game. We're talking about the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life. And again, if you can do that and we can, deliver on our promise to fully develop these young men academically, socially, physically through the game of football and build team, we have to out-develop people. We have to out-team people.
Does the retention piece get complicated too?
Oh, yeah.
And that, I mean, even if you've got a guy here who's your kind of guy, I imagine it'd be tempting to go make more money.
And that's where we really have to go to work. We need to make sure that we're recruiting young men that value. We want guys that love football, that want to be in this facility nonstop, that are tough, resilient, and really value the education that they're getting on campus and what it's going to do for them in the long run. No better example of that or what we got going on this weekend with our mentor program. And in terms of the retention, that's where we got to go to work. We got to make sure that we're in a position to be competitive in those retention conversations.
With Rod's transfer to Notre Dame, how much did NIL influence that, and what do you learn from that? Because obviously that's a notable player to lose.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how much it played, but what I can say I'm really proud of is Rod's leaving Northwestern with his degree. He Wildcat through and through. And, at the end of the day, if you're leaving this place with your degree, you've been the ultimate team guy, someone that, really embodied what we ask of our guys. We got a lot of work to do in the NIL space, but that parting was something that love Rod heard and excited for his opportunities moving forward, but our focus is going to continue to be on our guys here.
So not to belabor the point, but do you think your background, just coming from pretty much all small schools before getting here, really helps as far as selling that message here?
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, Matt, it's the reason I wanted to be here. I've told you this a year ago. This was a dream come true to come here in any capacity. I think it's so much of what Northwestern stands for are things that align with what Kristen and I want to do as a family in terms of helping young men reach their full potential and develop through the game of football. And again, we're losing some of that in college football. I'm proud to be at a place that still roots into those things.
When it comes to putting together your first staff, how much did the NIL and all that kind of stuff factor into who you chose and who you hired?
Yeah, so much of it came down to character first and guys that were proven developers of young men. So in that way, it did factor in. It wasn't about, hiring guys that were going to be the slickest on the road in recruiting and know how to navigate the NIL landscape. Whoever shows up, the young men that show up on this team, is it a group of coaches that are willing to pour every ounce of their fiber into helping these guys fully develop? And I feel like we got a group that's excited to do that.
Coach, you've been all over the country with Northwestern alumni selling this message of this program. How did you balance all these ceremonial other jobs of being a head coach with also being around for these guys as they worked out the winter and getting ready for spring ball?
The only way to balance that is to hire an incredible staff. And at the end of the day, I have to be willing to delegate and have to be willing to trust that we have the right guys in place. But handing over the defense to Tim McGargle, I haven't looked back once. That staff in that room, hand over to Coach Lujan, Coach O'Boyle, Coach Creighton, I know that if I have to be away from the facility, that this program is in great hands. And at the end of the day, that's part of my role now. Whether I like that or not, it's part of my role. What I will say is it's been so apparent to me over the course of the last couple months, more time with alumni, more time with people, whether it be board of trustees, donors, people that are the fabric of this Northwestern community. It just continues to permeate. This place is special because of the people, and there's so many people out there that are really excited about the future of everything that's going on.
And then speaking of Coach Creighton, you hired him to be a tight ends coach and a special teams coordinator. Was there a consideration splitting those positions and hiring someone full time as just that special teams coordinator?
It was a consideration, but if someone was going to take on that workload, it was Paul Creighton. And again, Paul coming from a background when he was with Kalen DeBoer at Fresno State, coaching the tight ends, up at Washington working with special teams, but still very aware of what was going on offensively. I think Paul brings an incredible perspective to that offensive room, specifically in the passing game, utilizing those tight ends. And we're going to find ways to really team coach those special teams, so it's not just, hey, Paul, you take care of all this. We got to do a great job as an entire staff helping them out.
Coach, going back to the travel for home games in the next couple seasons, you mentioned wanting your players to be ready. Is there anything you do now in the spring or the summer to start preparing them for the reality that you're going to be traveling potentially an hour or more to home games next year?
We have to be aware of that. A lot of that comes down to logistics in our support staff and hotels and all those things where we're going to be staying. But today was a great example of it with Pro Day going on and day after our first practice. The schedule looked much different today than it does in a typical routine off day in spring. And all the message is, guys, we got to find ways to bend our knees, adapt, adjust, and focus on the things we can control. And in that first little test, our guys handled it really well this morning.
Hey, with Kalen DeBoer getting the Alabama job, you getting this job, Lance Leipold succeeding Kansas, do you think the general football populace is starting to have an appreciation for if you can coach at the small school level, you can coach anywhere?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, I'll be honest with you. There are great coaches in the Big Ten that keep you up for long nights and sometimes early mornings in season. But I'm telling you right now, I remember going against Coach Grubb, when he was at University of Sioux Falls, and I walked away from those matchups calling defense when he was calling the offense at University of Sioux Falls. And I was like, this guy, my gosh. Like I've never been so stressed in game, and to see what he's done throughout his career. There's great coaching at all levels. Some of the guys I'm most impressed with in my interactions are some of the high school coaches you get a chance to interact with in recruiting. So I think where things just change at this level, it's the landscape of NIL and the landscape of recruiting that's I mean, honestly, Matt, those are some of my biggest adjustments right now are navigating all this stuff outside of football. So.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, everyone.